Hello, everyone, and I'm Sayam Pathak, and I'm a CNCS ambassador. And this is my Twitch channel. If you are tuning in, then I welcome you all. Just say hi in the chat and where you're joining from. Awesome. So I also run a YouTube channel where I do cloud native streams with other cloud native leaders. So that is another thing, and you can follow me on Twitter as well. At Sayam Pathak, you can see on the bottom of the screen. So let's begin. I'll share the screen. So today we'll be discussing about Rancher. So it is a tool by Rancher, and it is an open source project that provides container management platform built for organizations that deploy containers in production. And Rancher makes it super simple to run Kubernetes everywhere. By the way, if you don't know, Rancher was recently acquired by SUSE, and it's part of SUSE now. So in these streams, we'll just see, how we can explore, how we can do the demos. Let me show you the clusters. So I have kubectl get nodes. So this is one cluster and kubectl get nodes. This is another cluster. So we have two clusters. We'll try to spin up Rancher in. Basically, you can run it as a Docker container, but what we'll do is we'll spin it up inside a Kubernetes cluster. So Rancher will be running in one Kubernetes cluster. That will be imported, obviously, where Rancher runs, it will get imported. And we'll try to connect an existing second Kubernetes cluster to it so that we can see actually how we can, what are the different use cases where we can, we can use Rancher. And the third, obviously, it's the Twitch stream, and I'll be making some notes. So anything that I'll tell you, I'll just put over here so that, if any questions are there, then it doesn't get missed. Okay, so let's begin. So we can see that Rancher was originally, so Rancher is basically to create the clusters, and you can create the Kubernetes clusters. So originally developed to work with multiple orchestrators. And with the rise of Kubernetes, it exclusively deploys and manage Kubernetes cluster anywhere or any provider. So basically, you can run Kubernetes cluster anywhere using Rancher, which is really cool. Rancher can provision Kubernetes from a hosted provider. So a lot of hosted providers are pre-integrated with Rancher. So you can create the clusters in the hosted, which will be the managed Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is just a orchestration engine, and yes, it's a big learning curve for Kubernetes. There is some trainings on Kubernetes if you want to learn more on Linux Foundation, as well as on edX, which is a very basic one. So go ahead and do that as well. One Rancher server installation can manage thousands of Kubernetes clusters and thousands of nodes from the same user interface. So that's pretty unique, and that is the most interesting thing. So with one Rancher installation, you will be able to manage thousands and thousands of servers, which is interesting, and which is the actual use cases in production when you are talking about any of the industries that are there, which have thousands of clusters, or enterprises that hand overs small clusters to different teams. Because what I have seen in the trend is there are huge clusters. I'm not saying there are not, but right now people tend to have small clusters for specific use cases. So small clusters for specific use cases, target for specific use cases, and the management gets a bit difficult as the number grows. So I think that's where Rancher will help a lot. So what we'll do is now it then enables detailed monitoring and alerting. So it has built-in monitoring and alerting. It integrates directly with Helm via application catalog. So there is an application catalog from where you can install the application on the cluster, and you can plug in the CI/CD. And Rancher even includes a pipeline engine to help you automatically deploy the workloads, which is called Fleet, which is another project by Rancher. Awesome. So basically, Rancher is a complete orchestration management platform for Kubernetes. So we know about Rancher. So whenever I explore a new tool, so whenever you are exploring Rancher or you are exploring a new tool, so the basics, what it does, what problem it tries to solve, and whether you will be benefited. So we get to know about this in the first few sentences, the architecture diagrams, or what it does. So since Rancher has extensive documentation, so they have not given a lot over here, but their documentation first page says it all, where you have where you have your like what it actually is and how it works. So I think that gives pretty much the detail of what it does. And run Kubernetes everywhere, and you have this. So you'll be having Rancher installed, and you can create clusters on any of the hosted providers, or you can choose your infrastructure and provision their RKE, which is Rancher Kubernetes Engine, on the environment. And different clusters you can manage, and these are some of the things that you can run: access control, and the security policies, authentication. All these things should be built in. Then working with Kubernetes, you can provision the clusters, catalog management principles, you can install Istio, you have your logging, monitoring, alerting, and you can do so many things. So you can import the existing clusters. You can create the clusters on hosted Kubernetes. You can create Rancher launched Kubernetes cluster, and these are some of the features. So when you launch a Rancher Kubernetes cluster, I think it does a lot of good things. So it will create your RKE, will do everything. Hosted one won't do the security scan, the automatic backups, ability to recover and restore etcd. So see, so many good things are there. So without further ado, let's install and see what exactly it is. So we go to the installing and the upgrading section. Rancher server manages and provisions Kubernetes cluster. That is the Rancher server. You interact with the downstream Kubernetes cluster through Rancher server's user interface. Next is the RKE, which is Rancher Kubernetes Engine, certified distribution, CLI, creates and manages Kubernetes cluster. Then you have K3S, which is an amazing product. We'll definitely talk about K3S in upcoming streams for sure. Then RKE2, which is a fully conformant Kubernetes distribution that focuses on security and compliance. And then we have Rancher D, which is a new tool for installing Rancher, available as of 2.5.4 as an experimental feature. Rancher D is a single binary that first launches an RKE2 cluster, then install Rancher server with a Helm chart. Okay, a highly available cluster with the Helm CLI. We recommend using the Helm. Okay, we can do the highly available, but first we want to test. Okay, single node Kubernetes install. Good. We don't want to install with Docker. Other options, yes. We want to install with Kubernetes and direct internet access. So let's go here. Okay, so we have our Kubernetes cluster, and we have Helm, we have kubectl, we have our cluster ready. Ingress controller for hosted Kubernetes, it's fine. Install Rancher from Helm chart. Yes, let's try to do this. To set up Rancher, first we add the Helm repository. So let's do the latest one. That would make sense to have a latest version of Rancher installed. So first we do a Helm repo add Rancher latest to the server. So let's go here. Add it to the repositories. Create a namespace for Rancher. We created a namespace for Rancher. Awesome. Choose your SSL configuration. Okay, so Rancher generated TLS. Yeah, this should work. In this case, you need to install Cert Manager, and it will issue the certificates and do all this magical stuff. Cert Manager is awesome. So let's install Cert Manager. Where is it? It installs 104. It's a bit old, maybe. Let's see. CRD, namespace, and again a Helm install, and then Helm repo update. And let's install Cert Manager first. So our aim is to see how we can spin up Rancher, then how we can import the cluster, and some of the features that we can, some of the add-ons that we can do. So it is installing. Okay, so the Cert Manager has been deployed successfully. So kubectl get ns. So namespace Cert Manager. So kubectl get pods -n. And okay, awesome. So all the pods are running. So we have Cert Manager. Once the Cert Manager is installed, we have checked the pods which are running. Now it's the time to install Rancher. So Rancher with Rancher generated certificates as we have Cert Manager. So we should be good over here. So what we'll do is helm install Rancher latest system and set host name is equal to, okay. So we have to provide a host name and we have a DNS name for a cluster already that we'll use. Let's use this. Is equal to rancher dot. So rancher should be up and running, it says. So right now they are, I think, container creating. We can actually see kubectl get pods -n cattle system. Okay, cool. They are container creating. They are getting ready. Okay, we have running, and ready. So everything is running and is ready. Cool. So now we go up and we try to open this page. So this is the Rancher first, what do you call it? The first thing that is there. So we have to give the new password. So we'll give any password. So that, and I want to create or manage multiple clusters for sure. I agree. And we will continue. Save. And we'll say, so it saved the Rancher server URL to which it has to connect all the times whenever we are. Oh, interesting. So we just spinned up Rancher using Helm inside our Kubernetes cluster, which is K3s based. So you can see K3s based and it's 1.20 Kubernetes version. This is the first magic. Wherever you spin up Rancher, in whichever cluster, that cluster automatically gets imported and is named as local. So this is this particular cluster which is there, and you can go here and you can just quickly see the CPU, the memory, and the pods, and some of the events that are there. So these are the set of events, and yeah, that sort of things, the basic info. Now let's explore some of the views. So what we'll do is we'll go to global view and we'll first try to see the main functionality, which is add cluster. Now you can register an existing Kubernetes cluster. This is what we are going to do right now. But before doing that, first let's see the options. So either you can import an Amazon EKS, or we can import any cluster, which we'll do right now. Or we can create a new cluster on existing node. Now this will be the RKE cluster. So if you have any specific node, then you can create a RKE cluster that gives you all sort of functionality like CIS benchmarking out of the box, what do you call, backup and restore of etcd. So those things are there. And then with RKE on the new nodes in infrastructure provider, so you can choose your infrastructure provider and spin up RKE clusters on their nodes, which means the computes. And the last is with a hosted provider. So these are the managed services, so the managed Kubernetes offerings. So I think that's pretty cool. Lot of offerings, and even if you do not want to create and you just want to import all these things, then also it's fine. You have your other clusters, so let's import it. So this is my lovely Twitch. I hope lovely Twitch. And you can give member roles. You can give labels and some of the advanced option to add environment variables. Let's create it. Oh, did I do space? No. So it creates a cluster. I mean, it just says that it creates a token and internally will generate a command that I have to run against my other cluster, so that the cattle agents can run on that and connect that cluster as well to this particular Rancher server. Oh, sorry, get the registration command. I forgot that. So yeah, so this is the registration command. So, and this is the complete the token that it has generated for a second. So we'll copy it, and what we'll do is my second cluster. Let's run this. It should, let's see what all it applies. So cluster role binding, namespace, service account, secret, and the deployment of the cattle cluster agent, like I told you. So the cluster agent will be deployed onto this node, and once it gets registered, this also should become green. I hope it doesn't complain about the certificate, else I would be very sad. So let's go to the global view. So it says the phase has been changed to initializing. In the meanwhile, let's explore other options. So we have clusters and we have apps. So apps are the catalog. So we have few catalogs already there, and we can enable other catalogs, and we can add the catalogs. And then you have your settings. So these are the base settings. What is your ingress, and what is your like the server URL, and all the basic info. And then you have your security portion. Security has a lot of things. So you have users, groups, roles, pod security policies, and authentication. I think authentication is a super duper feature. So you can add a user. So I can create a user Twitch and create a password, generate. Oh, I'll create myself. So let it be. Okay. And ask user, no, we don't need to change the password. So we'll give you a role, only have login access. So you can try it out. You can just go to this URL. I'll post in the chat. You can try to log in and see, if the authentication works really well. So you can log in with the user that we created. What was the username? Twitch, and test123 is the password. So Twitch is the username and test123 is a password. We have given a user base. Users have login access only. So you should be only able to have the login access. And so I was telling you about security. So we have the users, then we have the group. We can assign groups, and we can assign a global rule as well. And we have roles. Now this is very interesting. So you have separate roles for separate purpose. You have separate projects, and you can create a project role as well. So you can create a project role, and you can add a resource, specific resource. So I can give you the access only to maybe get clusters. I mean, I can create this deep level of RBAC. So I think that's a very powerful feature. And then on the cluster level, you can add a cluster role. So this would be the cluster role at a cluster level, and then you can have a global role. So I think they are super handy. And then comes the authentication. It supports Active Directory, GitHub, Google authentication. I mean, lot of authentication is there. So you can have your admin email, domain, auth credentials. Now comes the tools. So we have catalogs, and we have global DNS entries, global DNS providers. We have the RKE template. So you can actually add a template, and I think create a cluster from the templates. Yes. So you should be able to create the templates and reuse the same template across all the cloud providers. That should be good. And now we have another feature, which is called continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is actually a new project by Rancher called Fleet. So this is basically, you can see the name as well, demonstrate Fleet. And I have a full-fledged video actually on my YouTube channel to showcase Fleet. Yeah, Kubernetes at scale using Rancher Fleet. So I explain everything from scratch. I think You like it if you have anything related to, if you want to see anything related to fleet. So it's super interesting project. Now let's go back. Yes. So our cluster is ready. And the second cluster. So we imported a cluster which is ready, and I'm so happy now. So we have our imported cluster as well. So we created a, what we did was we just spent a brancher on a Kubernetes cluster. We created, we added a new K3s cluster to this particular rancher server, which was an existing cluster. It spun up agents and it connected, which is good. Now we have the options of Explorer. So let's explore it. So we have the Explorer option, and it gives you an awesome view. It gives you K3s provider, how many resources are total there, namespaces, ingress, whatnot, what all deployments are there. Cool. Which I have some deployment which is not good. It's okay. You have what all services, what all storage classes, local paths should be there because it comes by default with K3s. Then you have some config maps, which is the kube root certificates, and you have the role bindings, the roles, and more resources. So you have the apps, you have the core, and I mean you can go to each of the the RBAC and specific things, scheduling, the priority classes, storage, the CSI nodes, and you can go to the rancher as well, the chart role, the chart repositories and the legacy clusters. So there are tons of things that you can view from the Explorer. In the Explorer, there is a feature of continuous delivery, which I've just posted the link that will explain in detail what fleet is, how it works. And we have apps and marketplace. So apps and marketplace lets you add a lot of applications out of the box onto the cluster. The most important and the awesome ones are the gatekeeper and the monitoring. So what we'll do is, now we have seen the global options. Right now, whatever I was doing was in the global options. Now we'll actually go inside the cluster. So let's go inside this cluster. Now there are some of the options that gets changes. One is the projects and the namespaces. So you can create different projects. So like you can add a test project and create it, and you can have different role for this project. So the project role that I was showing you earlier is a kind of different role that you can assign to this particular project. And inside that you can add namespace. So either you can create or you can move one of the namespaces. Let's move any of. Okay, let's create a namespace basically. This is this second cluster. So kubectl create ns demo. Yeah, so I have the demo. I don't know. I have to refresh this every time. It's annoying. I don't know why it is happening. It usually don't happen. Anyways, so we'll figure out that later. But for now, we have the demo, and let's move it. So move it to the test project. So we can move this namespace to test project. And what we can do is we can edit the project, add the member, which was what was the member? Twitch. Did we? It was Twitch. TW. Yeah, we can add the member as Twitch as the owner. So basically you will be the owner of this particular project. So you can define different owners and different editors of different projects. Basically you give the namespace level access. So you have the option to segregate the namespaces and give this particular access and all. So we are 30 minutes up, and let's quickly see all the other options very fast. So you have the monitoring. So let's enable the monitoring. We'll choose the default one. So right now, as I told you, like, right, I am in the cluster. So I'm not in the global view. I'm in the cluster. So inside the cluster, I get some of the new features, which are members, project namespaces, and the tools. Inside the tools, I cannot do CIS benchmark because that is only for the RKE clusters. I can do logging and monitoring, which I'm doing. So I'll enable the monitoring, and let's save it. We have saved it. Now let's go back to the cluster. And it is, I think it should be doing right. Oh, okay. So it is saving the cluster monitoring. And actually monitoring cluster okay, has been deprecated 2.5. Check out the updated version in the monitoring section. So there is some updated version in the monitoring section that we can actually do. Yeah, I think we already have the monitoring namespace. So okay, the monitoring I have already enabled that. So let's see that. We go to the, okay, this is the one, and monitoring API is not ready, which is fine. It is getting installed. So we can do kubectl get ns, and we can see what is happening in the cluster. We have cattle Prometheus 71 seconds ago getting created. Kubectl get pods -n cattle Prometheus, and awesome. The pods are running perfectly fine. Okay, one is not ready. Okay, so now it is again creating some other, doing some other stuff, operators and other things that are already done. The node exporter and all. So if we do a refresh, I think we should be able to see the monitoring. Awesome. So we can see the little Grafana icons over there, which are the pre-built Grafana dashboards. So let's look at maybe the cluster metrics. And here we are. Awesome. So we have the pre-built Grafana dashboard for this particular cluster, and that we can see. And obviously, we can tune the retentions. We can tune all the other features when we enable the monitoring as well. So probably this the K8s clusters. Some of the things might be not in the same way that it tends to monitor, but you still have a lot of things which are all which are already there. So you have the network IO, and you see this is the thing. So if I enable this, yeah, now you will be seeing a lot of good graphs. So you can see network IO, pods, usage, and container CPU usage. I mean, it's awesome. Can we set alerting on that? Why not? I think we should be able to, right? Alerts, awesome. So we already have alerts, and we can see n number of alerts, and we can add alert rule based on maybe a resource, okay, and based on a node, okay, based on an expression. Okay, we can add alert based on the expression. That is cool. So we can add specific alerts based on the expression of the Prometheus metrics, which is getting exposed, and create the alert. So this is really good. I think alert, we need to create a notifier as well. So yeah, so we should have a notifier. What are notifiers can we add? We can add Slack, email, PagerDuty, external webhook, WeChat, DingTalk, and Microsoft Teams. So you can, wow, you can have any of the notifier tools give alert, and this should be cool. We can also install Istio, which has a complete full-fledged installation onto the cluster. So you can enable Istio, and you can fine tune the pilot mixer tracing settings, and that should get installed as well. You can install OPA Gatekeeper out of the box. You can install OPA Gatekeeper from here, explore the policies, which is interesting. I can just choose install. Okay, I did. So it should kubectl get ns. Just I'm doing all these things, funny things. So you have the gatekeeper system already coming up. Kubectl get pods -n. It's the container creating. Okay, so okay, whatever we install, the applications appear over here in this section. So you have monitoring came earlier. Now you have the OPA gatekeeper, and you can add your constraint in the templates. I think there are two basic templates already there, which is K8s allowed repos, repositories allowed to pull image from, and the required labels. Pretty neat. Next, what we have is, okay, I'm here only, which is good, and the fancy Grafana dashboard. So let's switch back to the cluster manager, and annoying error, which is good. So we have Grafana dashboard for all the different components. So cluster metrics, we actually have the scheduler metrics. Let's see it. I like seeing, a lot of good graphs. We have node metrics. Ooh, fancy. So we have detailed node metrics, which is so cool. Awesome. So now next what we have is, You can, yeah, you can have istio as well. CIS can won't work. It is only available for RKE clusters, so you have to spend time on the RKE as well. So this is all in all, I think, the overview for Rancher. So I'll quickly summarize. So what we have done is, Rancher is a tool for provisioning the clusters and managing the clusters at scale. So you can provision the clusters, add the cluster on multiple infrastructures, on multiple cloud vendors, either on the managed services or on their compute instances with RKE, Rancher Kubernetes Engine. And you can choose the you can also create a new cluster on any existing node, which will be RKE. You can also import your existing clusters, which we actually did. We imported a cluster and which is already here. So if you have existing infrastructure and you want to take benefits of Rancher on your imported cluster, which are like the monitoring, the out of the box RBAC, which is solid RBAC. So you can use all that, and you can do the continuous delivery as well on these clusters. There are some of the other settings that you can do, like you can update the clusters. So you have the update available for the K3s as well. So they are very good, and you can drain the worker nodes, drain the control plane nodes, everything from the UI, very handy. You have the cluster explorer to view all sorts of things that are happening in the cluster. You get a very good Grafana dashboards out of the box if you enable Rancher monitoring. You can create separate projects for separate teams within your organization, and define and create separate roles and members for that, and assign specific roles for those members, and assign it to the project, which is the namespace inside the cluster, and give it to them. I think this is a very cool use case. And then you have the storage options as well, where you can see the storage classes, persistent volumes, and the persistent volume claims. You can manage them. You already have the Longhorn installed, and you can see all these cool stuff which is happening over here. Yeah, I mean, that's all in all what Rancher is. You have the fleet, which is the Rancher continuous delivery for Rancher. So you can deploy and you can do the GitOps at scale using Fleet, which I have already given the link for, and you can see the complete video for that. So we have a lot of sessions basically to cover in the upcoming streams, like K3s, adding a cluster on a cloud provider, like the complete RKE with CIS benchmarking, and maybe sometime OPA gatekeeper I'll do from this only, and sometime the continuous delivery as well. We can have a look back again. So let me know in the comments if you like the stream, and tweet out at the rate Sayam Pathak if you are interested in such streams and if you're liking it. So probably I'll stop share now. So thank you for joining in, and thank you for watching, whosoever is watching afterwards. Thank you whosoever was who stayed with me till the end, and really appreciate that. Keep sharing the channel so that you get the notifications, and I get the motivation to do more and more. Yes, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter, and you can buy my CKS book as well, which is on Kubernetes CKS certification. I am CKS, CKAD, CKS certified, so I have created a book that helps you understand and helps you practice actually the CKS for your CKS exam, which is Kubernetes security exam. So you can do that. Really appreciate you joining in, tuning in, and staying in for the end for Rancher. Try it out. Tweet me what you have done, how much clusters you have imported, how it benefited you. I told you the complete use case in the end, 5 minutes. So thank you for joining, and see you all next time. Bye.